everyone, what's up? This is Simon from DevDectic and the Ionic Academy. This is the first part of a two-part series, and this series is all about uploading images with Ionic. But we will also take care of the server side, so we will develop a simple Node.js server within this first video. And in the second video, we will then develop the Ionic app. So I've started already. Don't fear to create your own Node.js server. It's actually pretty easy, and we will go through the basic steps. So of course, make sure Node.js is installed on your machine, and then go ahead and simply create a new folder with a few files. So the first and most important file is the package.json. So this file actually describes all the packages that are needed inside our application. So we use Express for the server, some CORS plugin for CORS issues, to delete files, a plugin to better access the file system, plugin to upload, handling multi-part form data, and a path for resolving a local path. And finally, we will also use Mongoose, which is an open database mapper or object database mapper for MongoDB. So you need to make sure that you have MongoDB installed on your machine. And for me on a Mac, after installing MongoDB, it's simply running this command, or this one actually, mongod, and this will start the MongoDB on my Mac. I guess on Windows it should be pretty much the same. Anyway, just make sure you have a MongoDB on your computer, or even on a remote server if you want to use a remote MongoDB. Let's take a look. We also got this pre-start script which will compile our TypeScript files. I tried to write this server with TypeScript, so you see it on the endings of my files. Therefore, this will run the TypeScript compiler, and inside our tsconfig we then have the compiler options, which tells the compiler to put all of this into a dist folder. And once we run npm start, this will run node on the dist folder and the generated server file. So that's all for the general stuff. I think you can find all of this as well inside the according tutorial. Next to these files, we need three more. We need image.ts, routes.ts, and server.ts, and we start with this one. First of all, we need some imports, and the syntax is a bit different than you would expect it with without TypeScript. So now it looks more like this. And also, of course, we should run npm install to install all the files from our package.json. Then we got the Malter for the file upload. We need CORS for our Ionic app and CORS issues. And finally, we need to establish a connection to the MongoDB using Mongoose. So import all of this. Then two things we should export here because we need them in different files later on. The first one is the upload path. So let's say we want to upload the files to a folder called uploads, and the port of our application. You could also have this in the environment, however you like it. Make sure to create the folder of your upload path manually, because we will use the plugin in a way where this folder is not automatically created. So we now use malter.disk storage. So we want to store our files directly on the disk of the server. And now we can use two functions. First one is destination, which tells where this file should go. So request file and callback null, and our upload path. So this will upload the file to this path. And also we want to change the file name on the fly. So let's copy this. And the callback is now null and file.field name, which is the name of the file, plus let's say we just append the date. So this makes the files more or less unique in some sort of way. You could also use a UUID or make it even more safe. However, this is not about security, this video. So then we export this as upload and create the multer, passing in the storage option we defined above. So this is our upload plugin. Now we need to create our actual app using Express and tell our app to use the course plugin so we don't run into any course issues. To load our routes later, we can actually require this as well. So this will be from routes, I guess. All right. So this file will contain our API routes. Image.js is the next one we will take a look at, which is the database model. But two more things right here. First of all, we need a connection to the MongoDB. So if you have it local, it should be MongoDB localhost, and then whatever you like to call it. I will call it image upload. If it's not existing yet, it will be created. So just pick whatever you like. Then we connect to the database, and at this point you will get an error if something goes wrong. Of course, this should be Mongoose. And then on error we will log it out. So you will see this once you start the server, and then you can act and do whatever it is told. Otherwise we will log out connected to MongoDB. All right, so then we're connected to our database, and finally we start the server by calling listen. We path in the port we have defined, and then we got the function. Actually, we could use arrow syntax here as well, like this. Okay, and then we log out whatever, listening on port, or yeah, and that's it. Okay, so let's give it a try. We run npm start. The TypeScript compiles our stuff to the dist folder. We get connected to MongoDB and listening on port 3000, so everything's fine. I don't care about the deprecation warning for now. So this one is ready. Let's head over to our actual database model. So we import Mongoose again from Mongoose. And now with TypeScript it's a bit different. Normally we would just create a database scheme, which would look like this. New Mongoose. Okay, no completion, whatever. A new scheme. And then we got the properties like file name, original name, description we might want to store, and finally a created date of the type date, and the default value will be date.now. So on creation this will be set. This would be enough without TypeScript, but with TypeScript we need an interface as well. Call it image model, and this one extends, no, not mouse event, but Mongoose document. And now we have the same stuff again, but then we can use this interface if we like to. But I actually think I haven't used it that much. So the learning from this tutorial might be, yes, you can use TypeScript on the server side. It might be good at some points. We had some auto-completion in the server file, which is pretty cool. But sometimes it's a bit more tricky in some areas, and you might not find that many tutorials by now. Perhaps you're from the future and there are already some tutorials. So in that case, just go ahead and use TypeScript. Perhaps I will stick with TypeScript in the next time. I'm not yet decided on this. Perhaps you have an opinion on this, so feel free to share anything below the video. So we're finished with our database object. Once we store an object in the database, it will have this field, so file name, original name, description, and created. The last line is just to export it, make it a database scheme and model and all this stuff so we can access it later, and Mongoose knows about this. So all of this was some pre-work for our actual task to upload and create a simple API. So now we get to these things. We load the app and upload from our server file, and we load image from our just created file. Yes, like this. And then we need a few more things. So we need the path plugin. We need the file system. And finally, the delete plugin, right? What's wrong with path? Yes, of course, from. Okay, now let's create a few routes. So we want to have a post route to actually upload an image. This will be a post to images. Then we will have a get request to images, which will return a list of images. We will have another get request to images / image ID, which will stream back one image. And finally, we got the delete command to images / ID, which will delete or remove one image from the server and database. So these are the 4 routes we're going to implement. Perhaps let's start with the posts so we can actually create some stuff. We use Malta. We already have set up everything. And now we use it here as a middleware for our request. So before our code is actually executed, request and next. Before our code here inside is executed, this middleware will run, and it will check the request for a data field with a file, and the file key should be image. We will see this later inside the tutorial for the front end, that we need this key. Of course, this could be whatever we like, but in our case, image makes totally sense here. So this means once we get here, the actual file is already uploaded. Okay, so we don't have to handle anything else here, but we want to store a reference to this uploaded image inside our MongoDB, so we can later fetch all the images. Therefore, we create a new image object and set the properties. So the uploaded file will be in request file once we get to this block. So this comes from Malta, and then we can use it to set the original name, and finally the description. Yeah, of course, no camel case here. And finally, the description is a custom field we want to append. So we will send this field with a body of the request, and that's where we get the field. Once you got this object configured, you can simply call save on the object. And if there's an error, we can return it, perhaps with a 400. Also maybe 500, whatever. Otherwise, we have created something, so 201, and we send back the new object. I think we can also say JSON and the new image. Okay. So this is the first route. The file will be uploaded. We don't have to take care of this. We just get the object inside the request. We can use it to create our own database object, save it, and then send it back to the user. Now let's have some fun with all the other requests. Bit lazy today, perhaps. Okay. Perhaps I'm always a bit lazy if you've seen more of my videos. To get a list of all images, we use our database model and call find on it without any parameters. The only thing we might want to change is remove the version key. So this removes one field from the request. We could also remove the description if we don't want it. But I don't think we are interested in the version key here, but we shouldn't disable it globally. Then I use lean, which will give us not a database object back, but a plain JavaScript object. And you will see why in a second. So this means we get an array of images at this point. What's wrong? I think nothing is wrong. Okay, so again, if there's an error, just handle it somehow. And now it gets a bit tricky. So let's start with this. Lower than images.length ++. So we will iterate through the results of our database call. And here's why. Each image has a name, original name, description, and created, but it has no URL to the actual image. And we want to pass back a URL to our Ionic app, so the Ionic app can then simply use this JSON response for an image source attribute. So that's why we change a tiny part of our response. So we get the object, and then we manually add another property called URL, and we get this by using the protocol of the request plus some slashes plus request get host, and then the actual path to our next function, which will be used to stream back an image. So we use /images /image ID, and the image ID is this. So _ID is always with MongoDB the automatically created ID. Okay, I hope this is clear so far. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Once we get to the response, or perhaps we can open it already, this will make totally sense to you. Okay, so I'm using Postman. I hope you can see most of this, and I think I've already uploaded some images. Yeah, so this will give us back an array of the uploaded images. And as you can see, we got the AD, a description, original file I created, and the URL, which looks then just like this. So a path to our API. This will not work yet because we haven't implemented it, but in the end, this makes life a lot easier for our Ionic app. So let's finish with the next two ones. So to get one image, we use first of all the image ID, which was passed in the params of our call. And then we call find by ID on our Mongoose object, use the ID, and then we hopefully get an image back. Again, if we encounter any error, send back something so we can react. And then we need to make two things. So the first is to set the header of our request, oh no, the result, of course, to content type perhaps image JPEG. So we don't expect any movies here. In that case, you might need a different content type or just files. We just expect images. So we set the header to image, and then we call create read stream, which returns a new read stream. And the input needs to be the path to our file. So that's where we use path to join the path of our upload path. Come on, upload path, and finally the image dot file name. So in the end, this will be like whatever uploads slash the file name dot JPEG. And finally, we need to pipe the result to return it to the user. So this will give us an image back. Before we try it, let's finish. Again, we use the ID. This time we use find by ID and remove. So image ID, error and image. And again, super solid error handling. Don't hate me for this. I'm sure you can do it better. I think we need the path again, just like this. So an array of things we want to delete. In our case, just one entry. And once this is hopefully deleted, we can go ahead and send the status of what's deleted. Is it 200? I'm actually not completely sure what it is. I will leave it like this for now. So let's start it again. Okay, let's try to remove all of these images for now. Perhaps this works. Because it's in a different folder when I tried this. So let's remove all of them to clean it up. And the last one. All right, our images array is empty, so let's upload a new image. We make a post request to images. We use form data. The image is a file. I will just use a picture of some holidays. The description is my whatever epic description. We send it and we get back the object which was just now created. Once we go to images back, we see that now the array has one object and a URL to this image without any JPEG or something like this. But anyway, we can use it, we can send it, and we cannot get it. I think this should be images, right? Yes. So let me see, there it is. This should be images. So the path we've manually created was not correct. Now the path should be right, and if we send it, we get back the image. Again, we can use this with a delete request to images. It is okay, accepted, and then the array is empty again. Okay, so now we have a functional backend which is connected to a MongoDB, which has 4 API routes. We can upload an image through a post request along with some information you might want to provide. We can get a list of all the uploaded files because we have stored the information previously inside our database. To get one image, we have a route which will resolve the route by its ID to a file which is redirected to the user. And finally, we can also delete a file from the file system. Oh, and finally, let me upload it once again. You see in the uploads folder, there's the file with a timestamp created and stored right inside that folder. Okay, so perhaps when you see this, the second video is already published. Otherwise, you will have to wait a maximum of 2 weeks, I guess, until the next part will be released. Meanwhile, you can build out your server or already try to build your own Ionic front end. But I hope to see you within the second part again of this video. And if you enjoyed this video, also make sure to subscribe to my channel for more Ionic videos or even server videos like this. There will be more in the future, so check this out, stay subscribed, and have a great day. Goodbye.